Hello, everyone. Today we have with us Mr. Hasad Seth, who is a senior non resident fellow at the Dhirubhai Ambani University School of Law. Mr. Hasad Seth is a seasoned counsel and arbitrator with a career spanning 25 years and plus, spread over disputes practices in US and India, and across a wide range of practice areas such as arbitration, construction law, technology law, and intellectual property law, patent tech licensing deals, and corporate law. He also has a technical educational background, holding a BSc in computer science from the North Maharashtra University, along with being a gold medalist while completing his first Masters of Laws degree from the Mumbai University. Mr. Hasad Seth has a significant law and business experience in multiple jurisdictions and settings, including US law firms, Indian courts, law firms, and US MNCs. He is also an experienced arbitrator for complex commercial disputes with training from Howard Law School in negotiations and mediation. Having completed a second Master of Laws degree at the Franklin Pierce Law Center, which is now part of the University of New Hampshire, he worked for 5 years in 2 US law firms in the field of patent litigation and prosecution before returning to India. Apart from being an independent counsel, he's a dual qualified lawyer in India as well as in New York. Additionally, he's also a fellow of the Chartered Institute of Arbitrators at UK. And today he's with us to talk about the importance of a specialization in construction law, contracts, and arbitration. So welcome to you, sir.
Thank you very much, Alicia. And thank you to the Dhirubhai Ambani Law School, where I am a senior fellow, and Professor Dr. Dadhich, who heads it.
So we'll start with our questions. The first question for today is, to begin with, how would you define construction law and why has it become such a specialized field in the recent years?
One, construction law has received the focus which it deserves, rightfully deserves, because it is such a big part of any country's economy. So, for example, United States built its freeway system, the highway system, in 1950s when President Eisenhower was there, and as part of the post-Second World War kind of construction plans which US started. Now that system has provided utility for almost more than half a century as such. So, and now it's being revived and all that. So rest of the countries still have to build those systems. I mean, you have the developed West where most of the freeways and other things are built. But in the developing world, I think Middle East has done very well. And it's all related to the population density and the population distribution that you have. And I think the modern great example which would compare with the US highway construction is China. So much is being built by China. So all said and done, I mean, with so much of this economic activity going on, it's necessary that there is a legal system which deals with everything, contracting, relationships between various stakeholders, and then ultimately, if required, dispute resolution. So that's the overarching need for and the rise of importance of construction law as such. There were always, under contract law, there were always construction cases. That's not a problem. I mean, if you look at Indian Contract Act, I mean, there are various examples, illustrations which actually relate to construction. But that was never considered a separate branch by itself. But it's this rise of nations and the economies that has led to its focus.
The infrastructural growth with the changes in the renewable energy and also the smart cities developments, which is now happening.
Absolutely, you're so right. I mean, there are other aspects apart from the building construction or infrastructure construction, which is solar plants, as you rightfully said, so much in energy space, I mean, including nuclear, so much in the shipbuilding space, I mean, also in the space sector, etc. This is all construction because it's essentially, combining parts to make something useful.
And with that, let's move to the next question. Construction projects involve engineers, architects, project managers, lawyers, and contractors. In your view, what unique value does legal expertise bring to this multidisciplinary environment?
Yes, so the last phrase that you mentioned, multidisciplinary environment, is the key because it involves a vast variety of stakeholders in a contract. It becomes necessary to have a system whereby the inter se rights obligations would be defined and implemented and resolved if there are disputes. So hence, construction contract tends to be important. What is more interesting is that this is a pop-up activity in the sense that the teams are assembled, different contractors come together to work on a project on almost a project by project basis. So there is no continuity. Government also does procurement through the tendering system to find the best possible technically qualified and financially competent kind of contractor to execute the project. It also doesn't say that let's have one of our own contracting agency and let it build everything. So that's why I call it like a pop-up activity. And because of that nature, because of its discreteness, it becomes necessary to have these contracts all the time between whoever has come together to build a project.
And also the need for specialization in each area of the construction industry that might be cropping up. So if it's quantification of damages, you need a specialist for that. If it's analyzing delay, you need a specialist for that. So I think all of these areas are just so vast in themselves that a specialized training in that is necessary to actually facilitate a construction related dispute to resolve.
Absolutely, because the law might be underlying law might be very simple, like the contract law, but it's not the same, right? If only like studying one contract law would make you like an expert on all contracts, how easy that would be. But that's not the case. Every sector deploys contracts in different ways. So construction sector has a peculiar way of contracting and resolving disputes around contracts and performing those contracts. So it becomes necessary to have that specialized training, in construction law and contract signing.
It has also to a certain extent become indispensable to have this specialization, especially also when you look at cross-examinations which are being conducted in a construction industry, or even with regards to drafting of pleadings and evidence affidavits for that matter. If the concerned parties do not have the requisite technical knowledge of the dispute which they're involved in, unfortunately, it may result in a bad outcome. So what would you say about that?
Yes, so what happens is that the primary aim of construction industry is to build things. It's not to get into litigation or disputes, right? But because of its complexity, disputes do happen is the reality. And that's when you have two interdisciplinary systems kind of interacting, which is the engineering side of things, and along with it, I broadly use the term engineering with construction management, project management professionals, all kinds of stakeholders. And then you have the legal side of the things, right? The lawyers, the experts, and everybody who gets involved, the arbitrators, adjudicators, all that. And hence it becomes necessary that all these parties come together as such. And construction arbitration seems to be the current flavor of the season to resolve disputes. But construction industry itself is always looking for better solutions, whether it's through the dispute adjudication boards, whether it's through adjudication or a security of payments or similar like methods. So things will evolve and stakeholders may change, processes may change. What a fundamental need to study and apply construction law doesn't get away.
And so how does specialized training in construction law, contracts, and arbitration differentiate a potential candidate who is now entering the legal or the construction market with like job potential? How does that sort of add value to someone who is new in the field? Does the specialized training actually enable him with the skills that is required that the industry demands today?
Yes, I think I'm a big believer in training. You could train. I theoretically start with this idea that anybody could be trained to do any job, as such, any task. The challenge is the background knowledge. You cannot, like, for example, make a person an engineer overnight, right? I mean, it needs a lot of background knowledge. Same goes with legal, right? I mean, we go through the legal training only because there is so much of background knowledge required to execute the task. I mean, as such, you could train people to do mechanical tasks which do not have context quite easily, but things which need a lot of background knowledge, a lot of institutional, intergenerational knowledge, then I think it becomes necessary. So if you undergo training, obviously you bring a lot of background knowledge as such when the opportunity arises for you to get involved in the disputes and like the other part of the construction law, which is contracting. A lot of people think that disputes is like the only part, but contracting is equally or rather a bigger part of construction activities as compared to disputes. I mean, disputes are exceptions, I mean, but because they happen in so many numbers and so much of infrastructure is being built, that, I mean, it is assumed that there will be disputes.
Yeah, it might not relate to one particular aspect, but something or the other would always crop up in dispute.
Yes, I mean, because there's so many things involved, right? I mean, this government as the employer, so that brings in so many public works projects, so that brings in its own set of challenges, I mean, as such. So, I mean, and there are hundreds of permissions to be taken, hundreds of things to like get involved there. So, I mean, there is a hierarchy of people executing jobs. All of these things invite fertile potential grounds for dispute to arise.
Of course. And so, one last question that we have for you is, can you highlight a real world situation where specialized knowledge in this particular field of construction or contracts and arbitration made a significant difference in a project outcome or in a disputes outcome that you might have dealt with?
Yes, so I think, because I work more on the dispute side, I have more examples of things going wrong and then being like remedied with disputes. But I know for a fact that there are projects which have gone very smoothly for this reason that every stakeholder has sort of done things in an optimum sort of way. Then you don't have as many like issues that have come up, and the classic examples of that are the new airports that are coming up in India. So whether you consider the Navi Mumbai airport or the Jewar airport near Noida, both have come up in a record time. I mean, so obviously right things were done. I'm personally not involved in those projects in any manner, but both have come up in a record time as such. So obviously all the necessary contracting and execution implementation has gone very smooth for something where the land was handed over and you have a new functional airport within about less than 2 years, which is remarkable.
So thank you so much for sharing your insights with us today and highlighting the importance of the integration and interlink between construction law, contracts, and arbitration. I'm sure our viewers would have learned a lot about this, the need for a specialization in this particular area. And thank you for taking your valuable time to join us today.
Thank you very much, Alicia. Thank you.